Hey, good morning. I want to share a brief but really important thought with you. I think we've talked about before how God intends for people to live a magnificent life. And we often talk about that in terms of God's people and Christians, but actually, to tell you the truth, God intended, God plans, God dreams, God wishes that every person would live a magnificent life, a life that is full of positive expression, a life that is happy, a life that is fruitful, a life that is godlike, full of godly influence, powerful, full of love, full of victory, an amazing life, or like Jesus said, an abundant life. That was not just intended for God's people, that actually is intended by God for every human person. So whoever you are listening to me this morning, you don't need to, you need to know that that's the plan of God for your life. And so the wonder of Christianity, or the wonder really of becoming a Christian, receiving Jesus, is that the life and the nature of God himself is born inside of you, and you become united with God in your spirit, and his life is infused into you. And that gives you substantially the capability to live the way God always intended, to restore you back to like how Adam and Eve were, living in an awesome situation, untroubled by life, fruitful, powerful, full of love. And it's one thing to believe that, which is what I've taken a minute to tell you, and it's the another thing to actually walk in that. And I've discovered in life just a handful of things that trip up people in terms of them having received that and believing what I'm telling you, and then it's not working the way I wanted. Things are getting on top of me, and I've walked this way, thought this way, believed this way for a while, and I just keep getting tripped up. Here's a verse I want you to know this morning in our little bit of time. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit or rules his passions is better than he who takes a city. They're big statements. It's Proverbs 16:32. And a person who takes a city, or a mighty person, what the Bible is telling us here, the book of wisdom, is it's better. It's actually more valuable to rule your spirit, to rule your passions. And he brings that into the immediate thought of not getting angry. Emotions, getting angry, getting frustrated, getting annoyed, irritable, anxious, moody, depressed. When it's an emotion-driven thing, which is something that's very common in our culture and society and will doubtless have happened in your life, those things never produce good fruit in your life. And it's taken me a while to get to a point of this much clarity, I guess, about that exact thing. Whether it's frustration, which we all feel, or whether, and especially right now, with long queues at supermarkets, with not working the way we might want, with being inside more than we want, there is always going to be something that is going to try and frustrate you, make you anxious, get to you. And here's the thing, in every case, those are examples of emotions driving your life and the passions in your heart overwhelming you. That's what letting anger go is, the same thing. It's one thing to not be happy. It's another thing to really allow anger to drive you. And as soon as you do that, which we generally do on a regular basis at some level or other, then you end up defeating your life. Later in Proverbs it says this: the person who doesn't rule their spirit is like a city whose walls are broken down. And that's what I've found. It's never, ever in my whole life that I can think of, one case that I can think of where it's been a benefit or a help to me to lose control emotionally, to let anger rule, to let annoyance rule, to let frustration or depression or moodiness or overly sadness rule. And that is one of the great things, one of the big things that trips us up. What's the answer to that? It's that you should rule your spirit, that you should rule your passions. Self-control is one of the fruits of the Spirit. And you have the nature of of God in you and the Spirit in you. But it's learning to believe that actually I don't need to live under that emotional control. You'll feel emotions, but I'm learning, and it's helping enormously to realize that actually that never has to rule my life. I can walk in the presence of God in a soundness of mind that keeps me from letting those emotions tip me over where it's out of control. That will help you enormously in your life. It's been good to be with you. See you soon.